Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the CMA Show. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm ready to answer all your questions for the entire hour. But first, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to answer the one question that people have been asking me. Here, let me show it to you real quick, and that is, when are CMA exam results released? And this is a question because so many people have taken the exam during the second exam window of the year, which just ended, and we are just getting started with the third exam window of the year, which started August 1st and will end in October 31st. But for those of you who have taken the exam, I know you're wondering, when am I going to get my score? So I'll be answering that question, but let me just say hello real quick. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to a new episode. Thank you for being here. Hello, Sandeep Shaleen rather, sorry. Sparsh, Anna, how you doing? Sufiyan, how are you guys? Thanks for tuning in. For those of you who are new, please just drop it in the comments and say new. That way I know it's your first time. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been here before, thank you for tuning in again. I go live every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. So you guys are more than welcome to come and hang out with me and ask me questions about the CMA, career, or anything else you want to ask me. And this goes for those of you who are listening on the podcast. This recording will be released next Thursday. So if you want to come and join me on a live episode, you're more than welcome to show up on YouTube at 12 p.m. Pacific every Friday. Hello. We got new people here. Hello, everybody. This is great. Thank you all for being here. Are you guys pumped to hang out for an hour? I love this hour because I get to see you guys again and get to know new people too. Out of curiosity, how many of you are taking the exam during this last exam window? Just give me a thumbs up in the comments. I'm just curious as to see how many of you will be taking the exam. And I see a lot of questions coming through already, which is awesome. And we'll get to those, I promise. Before though, if you haven't already, please download my exam cheat sheet. It has 9 tactics that will help you pass the CMA exam on your first try. To get it, the link is above or below this video. Just click on it, enter your email address, and the PDF will be emailed to you right away. And it's completely free, okay? So if you haven't gotten it yet, I would recommend that you do at some point during the live show or afterwards if you so choose to. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the show yet, hit the subscribe button to be notified when I go live next Friday and whenever I publish a new video on the YouTube channel. And if you are on Facebook, just like the page, turn notifications on so that way you get notified as well. That way, I try to publish the most relevant information regarding the CMA, regarding the CMA exam as well. So if you want to stay up to date, please go ahead and do that. Hi. Ooh, we're getting a lot of questions. This is great. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started with the show. But before I do, for those of you who are new and are new to me, I'm Nathan, the founder of CMACoach.com and CMAExamAcademy.com. And I've been helping accountants pass the CMA exam for the past 7 years. I've coached over 35,000 candidates from all over the world, and I'm very happy to be here today so that I can do the same for you. My mission is to help you guys accelerate your career and income to a 6-figure salary as a certified management accountant. That has been my mission from the very beginning, and it will continue to do so for as long as I'm able to do this, which will be for many, many years to come. This is my passion. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started with today's show. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the number one question for today's show, which is, when am I going to get my scores, or when are CMA exam results released? Naturally, this is a question that every candidate has after they have taken their exam, because after you have spent months and months studying for your exam, you finally took it, and now you got to wait for a little while to get your results, and that can be nerve-wracking, right? Because we just want to know, did we pass or did we not pass? But obviously hoping that we did. So I totally understand. When I took my exam, oh man, I had to, it felt like forever, just because I was so anxious to find out my exam result. And when I got it via email, I was so happy. So I hope that you guys will have the same experience that I did. And how long will it take? So it takes about 40 to 45 days from the last day of the month in which you took the exam. So people think sometimes that it is 40 to 45 days or 42 days from their exam date, and that's not the case. So for example, if you took your exam in July, whether it be July 1st or July 15th or any point in July, you need to start counting the 42 days or 45 days from August 1st. Okay, so it's at the very end of the month, and then you start counting the days. So it's going to take a little while, so do the math there, but I imagine mid-September is when you'll get your exam result. So right now we're just starting August. If you took your exam in July, I mean, my suggestion, my advice is don't worry about it. You did the best you could and just leave it at that. Be at peace with it. I know that there are a lot of people who try to figure out how much they scored and what the percentage was. And the thing is, it's practically impossible to really know for sure, because aside from having two sections in the exam, there's also another factor that goes into it, which is exam difficulty. So if the exam was very, very difficult, then that will play a factor into your final score. And the thing is, we don't know that for sure, right? So it's best to just not try to guess, because you will just drive yourself mad. Trust me, I've been there. I've tried to figure it out. It won't do you any good. So my advice is, you've taken the exam, be super happy about that, because that goes to show that you were committed, that you were disciplined, you finished your review program, and you took your exam, and you finished it all the way to the end. I think that's something to be very, very proud of. So I hope that you have celebrated. And if you haven't celebrated yet, I recommend that you guys go and do something fun with your friends or your family. Obviously, socially distanced, whatever is possible to do that these days. But do something to celebrate, even a Zoom call, just to share the news with your friends and family. You've taken the exam, that you feel very happy that you finished it. That alone, I think it's very important to celebrate. So I didn't want to go too deep into this question, because I mean, it's a pretty straightforward answer. So 42 days from the last day of the month in which you took the exam. So just wait, if you took it in July, like I said, wait until mid-September to get your results. And you'll get them via email, and then a letter will follow in the mail at some point. But you'll get it via email right away, okay? And if you don't follow IMA's Facebook page, I would recommend that you do, or even their Instagram, because the day that the exam results are released, they normally send an announcement congratulating everybody who passed the exam. So if you want to follow their pages, I think you should, just because, not only for that reason, but also because they're always publishing really good content that is very helpful for CMA candidates and also CMAs. All right, so having said that, I'm done answering that question. So we have about 50 minutes to do a Q&A session. So for those of you who are new, after I'm done tackling the big question of the day or of the episode, then we dive into a Q&A session where I just answer questions, all the questions that come through. So if you have any questions for me, you're more than welcome to drop them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to assist you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. So here we have a question from Sufiyan, and he's saying, any tips to prepare for the CMA exam? Oh yeah, I've got so many tips, Sufiyan, you wouldn't even believe. I have so many. So let me think. One of the tips that I actually talked about last week is to give yourself the time to succeed. Okay, so that's number one. Don't try to rush through your review program. If you plan to study part time, give yourself at least 4 months. If you're able to study full time, then by all means, you may be able to finish it within 2 to 2.5 months, and that's great. But most people, because most have a full time job, they can only study part time. So for those of you who can study part time, I would allocate about 4 months before you take your exam. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is to make sure to take a lot of practice exams. Practice exams are going to help you get more comfortable with the type of exam that you'll be taking at a prometric center. You will increase your speed. You'll be able to solve problems a lot faster than usual. So practice exams is very important. That's another key aspect of the overall exam preparation. So I would start with that. Of course, you got to read your textbooks. Textbooks are key. That's the foundation of any review program. You need good textbooks that cover the entire IMA's learning outcome statement, just to make sure that you are studying every single topic that will be tested in your exam. Okay, so that's what I would start with. Time, practice exams, and don't forget to read your textbook. Hello, everybody. Hey, Shalene. I want to put you on the screen, man. I think you've got like the coolest picture. It's so GQ. I love it, man. Thanks for tuning in. I think you were here last week as well. What's up, Sandeep? Hello, Anna. Hi, Ayan. So you want to register for the exam, but you're not sure when. Oh, you don't know. You're not sure when. So it depends when you plan to take the exam. My suggestion is always to try to book your exam at least a month and a half to 2 months before the date you're aiming for. Okay, so look at the calendar, and once you have determined when you would like to take your exam, which means that you already have considered how long it will take you to finish your prep course, then estimate about a month and a half to 2 months before that date. That's when I would recommend that you go ahead and register for your exam. Jane is asking, which part is easy, part 1 or part 2? That's a really good question, and you're not going to like my answer, but this is just how it is. It really depends. It depends a lot on your work experience, depends on the degree that you got in college. So if you majored in accounting and if you have a lot of accounting experience, then go for part 1 first. If you majored in finance, or if you have a lot of finance work experience, go for part 2. Both exams are going to be tough. I just want everyone to be aware of that. There's no easy part, to be honest with you. Both are difficult, but it's worth it because these are highly specialized exams that will give you the tools and the knowledge to help you succeed in your career. At the end of the day, as I always say, we're not doing this just to pass an exam. We're not doing this just to add CMA after our last name. It looks really nice, but that's not the entire purpose of this. The purpose of this, in my opinion, is to equip you with the tools, the skills, the knowledge to help you excel in the company you work in. That's what it is. And help you move up the ladder. You'll be able to take on more responsibility, maybe lead a department, perhaps lead an entire division, maybe the company, right? So it really comes down to that. So there's no easy part. Going back to your question, both are difficult, but absolutely worth it. She is asking, do you get CPE credit points for completing the CMA exam? So you get 10 CPEs per 1 hour of the exam. So each exam is 4 hours long, which means that by the time you finish one exam, you will have accumulated 40 CPEs. That's why when the year that you pass your exam, you do not have to worry about CPE units because the exam itself, the hours you accumulated taking the exam, will cover the annual 30 units that you need to keep your CMA certification active. Now, there are 10 hours. If you exceed, for example, the 30 hours by, let's say, 10 hours, those extra 10 hours will carry over to the next year. But it's only up to 10 hours of CPE. If you did 50 hours of CPE, let's say in 2020, for 2021, you will only carry over 10 units. That's it. Okay. So anything extra, it'll just, it won't matter in terms of that. But you shouldn't let that be the reason why you stop learning. If you want to keep learning more, even after you have accumulated 30 CPE units, by all means, keep going. I mean, why not? 30 is the minimum that you need to keep your CMA certification active. Thank you all for all these questions. This is awesome. Let's see what we have. What else do we have here? Sandeep, I went over a few study tips. What I would recommend you guys do after this show is if you want to dive into more study strategies, more tips, first, definitely get your exam cheat sheet, because I have 9 tactics in that cheat sheet that will help you prepare for the exam and will help you score high in the exam as well. So it's totally free. It's a PDF download that you can get after you enter your email address. It will be sent straight to your inbox, and it's very short, but those strategies, those tactics will help you ace your CMA exam. Here, another great question. Do we have to take part 1 and part 2 in series, meaning 1 and then 2, or in any order? You can take it in any order. Personally, I took part 2 first, and then I took part 1. The reason why I did it, and I didn't know at the time, but I was looking at the pass rates of part 1 and part 2, and part 2 had a higher pass rate than part 1. So I assumed that part 2 was easier. In reality, it wasn't easier. It's just because accountants, after they take part 1 and they pass, they carry that momentum into part 2. They know what to expect. They've done it once. So that leads them to a higher success rate. And that's why part 2 has a higher pass rate, or at the time, it had a higher pass rate. So, but you can take it in any order, Ian. It doesn't really matter. So start with the part that you're most comfortable with. Look at the table of contents, the learning outcome statement if you don't have a textbook yet, and just check it out and see which one seems the easiest, well, easiest in quotes, right, for you, and then go with that one first. Great questions, everybody. Let's see. Which study plan is more convenient for self-study? Well, that kind of answers your question in a way. If you plan to self-study, then the most effective study plan is the one that you create for yourself, because you are self-studying, right? Is self-directed. So whatever works for you in terms of a study plan, that's what I would go for. As I always say, and you mentioned in your question, you'll be studying part-time. Like I said earlier during the show, allocate or dedicate 4 months to prepare for each part if you plan to study part-time. So and then break up all the topics and spread them out within those 4 months. And that's your study plan. A lot of times, creating your own study plan, and not just that, but following the study plan that you create for yourself can be challenging, especially if you plan to self-study. That's one of the big reasons why when I launched CMA Exam Academy, I've created a study plan that I use for myself, and I built it in the entire program, and my students follow that program week by week, knowing exactly what they have to study, knowing exactly how many assignments they have. So it's a pretty clear path from beginning to end. So that's one of the advantages of taking a course like that. If you prefer to self-study, then it's pretty much the same process. You just got to figure it out what works for you. Take into account how many hours you can study per week. Uh, like I said, at least 4 months per part. Look at the number of topics in your textbook and spread them out. And the key here is going to be, once you do that, the second step is to follow that study plan. And oftentimes that can be the hardest part, to stick to a study plan. But if you're a self-starter, you like to self-study, then I think that will work for you quite well. Jane is asking, which of the major test prep providers is best for both parts? Jane, quite honestly, and I mentioned this in a previous show, all the material that is covered for the CMA exam from all the major test prep providers, including mine, CMA Exam Academy, we all cover the same topics because we are all following IMA's learning outcome statement. So we know what's going to be tested, and the content is very similar, right? So what I would consider instead is to think about your best learning style. How do you learn best? Do you need an instructor? Do you not need an instructor? Do you like to figure things out on your own? Do you need someone there to explain things to you? Do you want to self-study and figure things out on your own? Set up your own study plan, and you're good with that? Great. If you need structure, then look for a program that provides you with that. So, like I said, all the test prep providers, the big ones, including CMA Exam Academy, we have the same content in terms of the topics covered, right? Obviously, each company has their own writers and so on and so forth, but the topics covered are the same because we all follow IMA's learning outcome statement. So instead, like I said, think about your learning style and look for a review course that matches that, because then that's the perfect combo. Here we have another question from Ham. Hey, what's up, Ham? What tips do you have for someone who is afraid of taking the exam and the best way to study? Woo, that's a big one. That's great. Thank you for your question. So fear, it's one of those things that hold people back, not just from the exam, but from attempting any new endeavor, going after any new goal or challenge, just because we don't know what's on the other end, right? It's the fear of the unknown, and that holds people back a lot. When I was thinking about the CMA exam at first, I was like thinking about it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. But then sometimes I would just question myself and be like, maybe I shouldn't do it. So I kept going back and forth and doubting myself of the decision of pursuing the CMA, and I realized that it was because of fear. It was fear of not knowing if I was going to succeed, of fear of not knowing if this designation was worth the effort and the investment of time and money, which it is, by the way. But I didn't know any of that at the time. So fear was holding me back, and I know that fear holds back a lot of people from taking that first step into pursuing the CMA. So a way to overcome that, and really anything in life that you're afraid of, is to take action. That's something that I live by. Whenever I fear something, a lot of times it's just a construct in my mind. But when I take a step forward, I take action towards that, oftentimes that fear just crumbles because I realize, hey, it's not that bad, right? And this applies to anything, I think, in life in general. It's a philosophy of mine. So, and I believe in it because I know it works. I live it. That's my mindset. So for those of you who are afraid or have fear about this designation, take the first step. That's all you have to do. And the first step could mean getting an IMA membership, or perhaps the first step is just to go and look and see what the exam is all about. Maybe the first step is to read IMA's annual salary survey to see if the CMA is the right fit for you. So the first step can be anything as long as you take action towards trying to understand the CMA a little better, or trying to just take the first step. If you have already made the decision that the CMA is right for you, then that could be purchasing a review course, right? So there are many different ways that you can take that first step forward to crush that fear that often holds us back. The best way to study, Ham, is to I have a video on my YouTube channel. Please check it out. It's called SQ3R. To me, that's the best study technique for the exam because it's been proven scientifically and through studies that people who apply that study technique remember at least 80% or more of what they studied. So that's why I highly recommend it. It's a study technique that I used when I was preparing for part one and part two, and it worked. I passed on my first try both exams. My students are also applying that technique, and I show them how to do it in the program, and they're also passing the exam. So I know it's a tried and true technique, not just for the CMA, but for any type of exam. It's super effective. So, Ham, I would recommend that after the show, you go on my YouTube channel, or you can go on my blog if you want, cmaexamacademy.com/blog, and look for the SQ3R article, which I explain step by step how to apply it. And that's what I would recommend that you start with. Obviously, not every technique works for everybody, but I think that's a very good one to try first. If you're not sure what the best technique might be for you, start there and see how it feels. Give it time though, because this technique takes a minute to get going. It's like riding a bicycle. You need to learn how to ride a bicycle right before you can go fast. It's the same with this study technique. At first, it might be a little slow because you're learning how to use it, but after like a couple of weeks, maybe a month, you'll gain speed, and you'll see how much faster you'll go, and at the same time, how much you'll remember from what you're reading and studying for your exam. Hello, Afridi. What's going on, man? Dude, I like your suit. That's a pretty cool suit you got there. Very stylish, man. Ahmed is saying, can you give us sources for questions? Yes, for sure. You can go on cmaexamacademy.com. We have our test bank with questions, multiple choice, and essay with model answers. The test bank includes final practice exams, a ton of different section and topic-based practice exams, so you can do that. That's one option. There are many out there, but my recommendation is, guys, that for the exam, that you do purchase a test bank at some point way before your exam, because as I said earlier, one of the study tips that I was giving someone else is that practice exams is key to your exam success. Some people may provide you with a Word document with a bunch of MCQs. That's great. You may print it out, practice it. That's awesome. I think that's helpful. But you do want to practice using a test bank because this is a computerized exam. They're not going to give you the exam at Prometric on a piece of paper. It's going to be on the computer. So it's important that you guys get used to taking this type of exams using a computer, not on a piece of paper, okay? So that's definitely one of the key components of effectively preparing for the exam. All right, let's see. So Rajat is saying, hey Nathan, I'm a CMA. Congratulations, my friend. Congratulations. That's great to hear. He says, my experience is pending. I want to know about annual CPE credits is required for me. Rajat, it depends. If you took your exam this year, then no, you're good. Your first year where you need to fulfill the 30 hours of CPEs starts in 2021. If you pass your exams last year, then this year, yes, you will need to accrue your CPE units. Sparch is asking, from which source do you prefer? I'm not sure I understand your question, Sparch. Sufiyan said, how much time should I study for part 2 for clearing the exam? If you plan to self-study, then I would start with 15 hours, 15 to 18 hours, maybe 20 hours a week. Start there. It may be too much, but it may be enough. I'd rather err on the side of having extra hours than not having enough, right? And you falling behind. So start between, I would say, 15 to 20 hours a week. And then after like 2-3 weeks, if you come to the conclusion that that's too much, then cut back. If it's enough, then continue with that. In my program, my students spend between 8 to 10 hours a week studying for the exam, sometimes 12, depending on the weeks, because some weeks are more difficult than others. So that will be my answer to that question. Thank you for asking. Hi, what's up? What's up? How you doing, man? He says, "Hey Nathan, love from India, brother. Thank you very much. Love from California, my friend." And he says, "I have my exam, and depending upon the essay part, which will decide whether I'll pass or not. So what should I do now?" Utsav, great question. So have you taken the second exam already, or is this your first exam? It really depends. So I'll answer both scenarios, okay? If this is your first CMA exam, then I would strongly encourage you to start studying for the second exam. Why? Because you have already built good study habits. You have momentum in your favor right now. So my recommendation is, why not take that and start the second part? So that's my recommendation. Now, if this is your second exam, there's really nothing else for you to do unless you haven't submitted your paperwork to the IMA, meaning transcripts, work experience, and so on and so forth. If you have not done that, then this would be a great time to do that. If you have already done it and there's really nothing else left to do than just to wait for your final result, then just relax, celebrate. Don't worry about it. You've done everything. That's if you have taken your second exam, right? But congratulations, I'm so happy for you. I know it feels amazing once you walk out of the Prometric Center after taking your exam, how good it feels. I know I felt like $1,000,000. I didn't know if I passed or not, but I felt so good just knowing that I was done. And so I imagine all of you who have taken the exam felt the same way. It's like, woof, I'm done. Because you spend so many months studying for the exam, so it feels great to be done with it. Is there any website for free of cost? I am not aware of a website free of cost, Ayan, with practice exams. I know that there are samples out there that you can grab, but an actual full-on test bank, you will have to pay for that. And let me tell you, it's worth it because you will be practicing with real simulations that will help you ace your exam. As you guys know, the CMA it's an investment, right? Requires an investment of time and money. It's worth it. That's why I'm a big advocate for it. It's definitely worth it, but there's an investment. So think of it as whatever cost for any study tools that you have to purchase. Think of it as an investment in you. Think of it as a return. Think of the return that you'll get from that investment. You have a much higher salary, a much brighter future ahead of you. Preet is asking, I just want to know, what is the scope of the CMA in an international market? Hey Preet, great question. The CMA is globally recognized, is your global passport, meaning that the CMA, the US CMA specifically, is recognized all over the world. So you can apply for jobs really anywhere if you wanted to. And the good thing is that because the CMA is not really, you're not tested in terms of taxation or auditing or anything like that, which can vary by city, by county, by country. The knowledge that you gain from the CMA is applicable to really any organization anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of this global designation. Preet saying, love from Dubai. Hello, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Gerald is asking about part 2. What about, you're saying, what about part 2 exam? Yeah, what about it? What questions do you have? Let me know. Utsav is saying, hey Nathan, I can relate to that feeling. It's priceless. The feeling of leaving the testing center feeling really good, like $1,000,000. That's right, my friend. I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that. I'll put you on the screen there. I like it, man. All the hearts and everything's awesome. Preet is asking, or she's saying, I'm preparing for Canada, to migrate to Canada. What is the scope of the US CMA in Canada? So in Canada, there used to be a Canadian CMA, and now that merged with the Canadian CPA. So now they're both just one designation, and that's the Canadian CPA. So they don't have a Canadian CMA anymore, but the US now the US CMA is relevant in Canada. I have many students in my academy from Canada who are studying for this exam. And sometimes they ask me, do I have to travel to the United States to take the exam? And I say, no, you don't have to. You can take the exam in Canada. So as long as there are prometric centers, you should be good to go. And there are many over there. So the good thing is that what you learn from the CMA is relevant no matter where you move. And that's what my point earlier is, that the knowledge that you gain, the skill set that you gain, is applicable to really any organization around the world. That's why I love the CMA so much. It's such a versatile designation. PK is asking, can you please tell me, does your study materials explain the basics of accounting? PK, great question. Actually, 2 months ago, we released our Fundamentals of Accounting textbook. This textbook we've compiled all the basics of accounting that are relevant for the CMA exam. Not for anything else, because the basics of accounting can encompass so many topics, but we've boiled it down to the main core basics, fundamentals, that will help you with the CMA subject matter. So we have that in the academy as a supplement. So students who enroll in the academy will have access to that electronic textbook for the fundamental. It's about 200 pages long. It's not that long, but it's very important for those who need a refresher in accounting basics, or for those who don't have a strong accounting background and need to learn about the fundamentals of accounting. So we have that study tool in the academy. We don't sell it as a separate study tool. It's just part of the entire program. So I hope that answers your question, PK. Thank you for asking. What's up, Rio? Welcome to today's show. The scope of the CMA in Germany. I actually have a couple students in Germany. There's a scope, like I said, and right now IMA Europe, they are very, very active right now with webinars and study sessions and promoting the CMA all over Europe. So I can predict that the scope of the CMA will increase over time all over Europe for sure. And actually, I am going to have a webinar with IMA Europe in a couple of weeks. I'll send you guys an email if you guys would like to attend. It's for everybody who lives in Europe, and anybody else really who's welcome to join. It's going to be a free webinar in partnership with the IMA. So I was saying, Nathan, you made me your fan, brother. Well, thank you very much. I'm just very happy to help and provide guidance. That's what I've been doing, and I just love to do it. Any plans for coming to India? You know, India is definitely on my list, on my bucket list. I've traveled all over the world. I haven't been to India yet, but I really, really want to go. So as soon as, traveling is allowed again and we have a good handle on this virus and it's safe to travel, I'll definitely make my way over there for sure. I would love to meet you as well, Utsav. Definitely. Good to see you too, Rio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up to the show. Gerald is asking, can you please tell me the difference between the US CMA and Indian CMA? Absolutely, it'd be my pleasure. So the US CMA is a global designation, first of all. The Indian CMA is only for India, okay? So if you're looking to expand the scope of your skill set worldwide, the US CMA is the way to go. If you plan to just work in India and work for Indian companies, then the Indian CMA is a great option as well. There are different exam fees. There's a different process for obtaining both. The Indian CMA, you need to take a lot of exams. For the US CMA, there's only two, part one and part two. I know, but the Indian CMA has a bunch more. And actually, I'm recording a video where I'm gonna compare side by side the US CMA versus the India CMA. So stay tuned. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the show, because when I publish that video, for those of you who are interested, you may want to be notified so you can watch it. Preet is saying, thank you so much for answering. Lots of love from Dubai. Thank you, Preet. Thank you for tuning in and for all your questions. Ayan is saying, thanks, dear. Your session is really helpful. Much appreciated for your efforts. My pleasure, my friend. I'm happy to help, like I always say, happy to guide. That's why I'm CMA Coach. That's what I do, and I love it. It's my passion. You're welcome, Rajat. Anytime, my friend. Rio is saying, I'm eager to become a CMA because I want to travel and work in different countries. All right, Rio. Yeah, the US CMA is definitely the global passport. So it's good to have it. So when you're ready to move, you have it under your belt and it will look really, really good on your resume. PK is asking, are your textbooks, CMA Part 1 and 2, enough to cover entire topics and basics to pass the CMA exam? And how different are from the other textbooks? So yes, our textbooks cover every single topic that you will be tested in your Part 1 and Part 2 exam. We wrote it with CPAs and CMAs, my team and myself. We wrote it in a very straightforward manner that is very easy to understand. We know that from my experience and from getting feedback from so many candidates all over the world, that other textbooks are full of jargon. They're not easy to understand. They go into topics way too deep, more than necessary. So it just becomes very, very difficult to read the textbook. So I took that feedback. So when I wrote my textbooks with my team, we made sure that we would cover every single topic just enough so that you could study it and pass the exam, and using plain English so that everyone could understand, because we knew that we would have students from all over the world, not just in the United States. So our textbooks had to be clear and easy to understand for everybody. So with that intent, that's how we wrote our textbooks, and our students love it. People have been getting my free textbooks, Part 1 and Part 2, for a few months now, and the feedback has been amazing. So to answer your question, that's the difference between my textbooks and other companies' textbooks. Let's see, we have another question. Himan is asking, I want to know about the average salary in the USA. It will vary, my friend. It varies based on experience. It varies based on state, city, company you're working in. Is it a startup? Is it top 100? There are many variables, but the average CMA salary based on IMA's annual salary survey is $116,000 per year. That's the average. Sam is asking, how many times can we take the CMA exam in a year? Sam, you can take the exam. There are three windows, right? January, February, May, June, September, October. I got a little confused with all the new months this year. So we got 3 exam windows. You can take them 3 times. PK, you are very welcome, my friend. It's my pleasure. All right. Do we have any? I think I've covered all questions today. This is great. All right. So, guys, I do want to say, if you would love to enroll in the academy and study with me, you can take a 15% discount by using code CMA Coach at checkout. And I would love to guide you and help you ace your CMA exam using my 16-week program that will handhold you from the very beginning until the very end. My team and myself, we only focus on the CMA exam because we want to provide our students the best experience possible to help them ace their exam on the first try. Our guarantee is that if you finish the entire program and you don't pass your exam, you will get a full refund for the entire cost of the enrollment. That's how much we believe in our program. So if you're interested in taking that step, crush that fear, and move forward to pursue your CMA, I would be honored to be part of your journey. You are welcome, Sam. You are very welcome. All right. So I think we've answered all questions. So I think we're going to wrap it up a little bit earlier today, this week. We got about 15 minutes left, but I think we've answered everything. So I want to thank everybody, all of you who tuned in, and thank you for all your questions. I look forward to hosting another live session next Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. For those of you who are on the podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the show. And if you can, please leave us a review in iTunes. It would mean the world. That way other people can find the show as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a terrific weekend, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.